In this thread only post weird / paranormal / potentially paranormal experiences you've had personally. I'll start. February 2022. Start seeing this girl. She lives in the middle of the sticks of Texas. She doesn't want her parents to know about us yet, and we're both total weirdos, so we come up with the idea to hang out in graveyards in late hours of the night. She knows the layout of these lands, where all the graveyards are, etc. It's our third or fourth date. We're going to this new cemetery I haven't seen yet. This is much further out, deeper into the backroads, the trees cover them like a canopy. This is the middle of nowhere. We go up this hill on a shitty really road. We're there. There's this gazebo before the entrance, a chain link fence leading into the cemetery, which has a historical marker plaque. We do the usual, we look at the stones, we fix any flowers that might have been knocked over by the wind, pay respects. This place is so old, there's stones marking back to some of the first pioneers in these lands, crap loads of stones for the stillborns and miscarriages had during those times. Eventually decide to rest, we find a comfy spot, light up some smokes and start chilling out. We start to hear this rustling, it's moving around us like something stalking us, spooks me a little bit since this is an environment I'm definitely not used to. This stops for a while, we realize it's cold as shit, so we decide to get the extra blankets I kept in my car. We both agree that something feels off about this place, something is wrong. On the way, we get distracted and decide to check out the gazebo. Being cheesy and gay, we decide to carve our initials into one of the 4 posts N+H. We explore to see if anyone else has carved anything into the posts. On the opposite side of the same post, some couple before us carved the same initials, M+H. Holy shit. We're both kinda freaked out, but pleasantly surprised, felt like some kind of destiny or something, to me anyways. Stop gawking, start heading to the car for the blankets, suddenly every coyote in Texas starts howling at a distance that couldn't have been much further from the tree line, no further than 100 feet. Quite a bit spooky, we decide to just sit in the car together for a bit, was nice. We get out of the car, I have the blankets in one hand and a light in the other. In the light I see this dark shape zooming just in front of me towards her. She starts screaming. Holy crap, no way, the legend of the Piney Woods Panther is true. I'm pulling my knife getting ready to gut this thing, yelling at her to get in the car, and then everything is still. It's a pure black dog, happy and tail wagging at us. This is the bastard that was making the rustling noises earlier. At this point we've had too many jump scares and coincidences. We decide to load up the dog with us, we drop him off a short distance away, that way he doesn't get mauled by coyotes. Return to this cemetery one time only, both of us get the sinking feeling in our gut, don't stay long and piss off, never return to this particular cemetery. There's this legend about black dogs I heard about, supposedly originated in the UK. The way it goes is that there's this dog you might happen upon in your life. If you happen upon it, you're destined to see it a total of 3 times. The first time you do, you're met with prosperity and good times. The second time, all gained prosperity is undone. You will experience great misfortunes. The third time you see this dog, it is an omen of your impending death. Things are awesome, she's officially my GF, I move out of mom's place and I'm living with some buddies from high school, saving loads of money, working what I think is a reliable job. Literally living the dream, got brothers around, piss loads of money, awesome GF, she's over at my place all the time, we're madly in love and ahem like rabbits. We still go out on back roads and into other cemeteries. On one of these trips I must have seen that dog for the second time. October 2022, one of my roommates is killed in a freak accident. His father passes away the same day to unrelated causes, he was in a coma at the time. Not only is one of my friends dead, but now the other roomie and I haven't got enough money to afford the place we're at. Things are super messed, not a good time. Other roomie moves, I move into the tiny duplex attached to the same building. Managing as best I can, still have other friends, GF, job as a support structure to keep me sane. June 2023, relationship issues start. October 2023, another friend commits suicide. Experience a mental break at this point. November 2023, get a call. My entire department is being laid off due to corporate shit. Christmas Eve 2023, GF breaks up with me. Almost shot myself. My ex called the cops to keep me from committing suicide. Working a miserable, highly physical labor job, my life can only be described as desolation. Maybe it's my ape brain trying to rationalize things, but I swear there was something wrong about that whole night, that dog, other shit we did in those cemeteries on those 1 a.m. adventures. I think that somehow we invoked something horrible, we poked in places at times not meant for us and ended up conjuring a malignance. I know logically all of these events have to be unrelated misfortunes, and I know the world doesn't revolve around me. My friends' lives and deaths aren't ghost stories. Still though, and maybe I'm losing my marbles, I can't help but wonder if there's some kind of curse. Maybe that dog should have meant more to me than when we got those first sinking feelings. I seriously can't describe the dread we got from being in that area after that night. There was just wrongness in the area, almost a feeling of disgust. For now I plan on staying the hell away from that neck of the woods until I decide it's time to see the dog for the last time. Ironically, I told my ex about the legend of the dog the same night we had that first experience. Maybe that's why it's making so much sense to me. I can't tell how much of my perspective is just me trying to cope and push the weight of this horrible shit elsewhere, or how much I actually believe in the legend. For other Anon's reading experience, I'll state this is definitely a more vague story in terms of whether or not the paranormal is in play. If you're interested, I do have other much more definitively paranormal experiences to share, although not nearly as directly impactful as the one I shared already. I guess these posts are more for me than anything.
What you are referring to is the Wild Hunt.
Wild Hunt? Never heard of it referred to that specifically. Can you provide more details?
It's a shared European folktale of divine, ghostly, and/or demonic, from the Christian version of it anyway, warriors and hunters riding across the sky, usually during winter as a symbol of passing of the seasons, and the souls of the dead traveling to the underworld. In Germanic tradition, its leader is Wotan. Greece, Artemis. UK could be King Arthur. Cernunnos, Herne the Hunter. Frau Halle, Garbiel, Satan.
I've had a few, but the most recent happened to me last night. Be me, unable to sleep, blankets too heavy, room too hot or cold if I turn up the fan or toss the blankets. Get comfortable, and occupy myself imagining shit stories until my waking mind says uncle and I pass out. Suddenly, as I lay on my side, fantasizing, I get a piercing sense of fear. This isn't the first time this has happened while I was trying to sleep, but it isn't common. But for whatever reason, instead of rolling over before opening my eyes and turning on the telly until the fear vanished, I open my eyes and see that the room is lit up like I turned on the light, and there's a black circle shrinking in the center of my view or moving away from me. Fear intensifies, circle vanishes, room darkens, no idea where the light had come from. Stare into the dark for a few silent moments. Sit up, turn on the telly and can't sleep for a few more hours. No idea what the hell there was. It was like a perfectly rounding drop that retreated from view the moment I looked at it, and looking at it dialed up the sensation a few by a few notches. I don't know if this can consider paranormal, but be me. 1 a.m. Start getting sleepy while checking the phone. Dream loading.gif. My bedroom. Preparing myself for going out with family. Look at my window, covered by fabric curtains. The curtain starts to lift like someone with telekinesis is moving it. I see a feminine figure at the other side of the window, her hand is on the window. I live on a goddamn 3rd floor. I can hear her whispering somehow. Shh, my turn to change clothes. The curtain lifts more, I can see her smile. I somehow know if I see her eyes, I'm dead. She wears a yellow sweater. The curtain reaches her scleral show. Panic. I wake up. I feel my heart is going to explode. Scan my bedroom. Pareidolia makes me see faces and silhouettes on my door, but I know it's just clothes hanging and anime posters. See my window, The same on the dream. My heart almost stops. Another silhouette on the curtains. Looks like a person leaning on the window. Not sure if the low level has lights or spots, cause have no idea how the hell a shadow is on my curtains. Hell no. Go back to sleep while I call a friend to make me company. This is not the only time I dream with a creepy woman. Last year. A really weird dream. On my parents' house, but feels like I am on House of Leaves, hallways and rooms that are not in my parents' house, weird geometric forms. I think my architect brain is overclocking RN. Hear the doorbell. A girl with other people. My dreams tells me I know her, since I was a child. My parents call me to meet the guests. That girl is a black silhouette, I can only see her eye wide open and her smile, a creepy smile. All other sounds in the room are isolated. I would kill for you, Anon. She smiles more. She touches my chest with her finger. What would happen if your heart stops beating, she asks. Tell her I don't wanna know. Check my phone. A message from a friend. That bitch is crazy, run from her. She is always close to me. We sit on the table. People are talking but don't pay attention. Wake up.
Not really creepy, but has confirmed the existence of an afterlife for me. I've seen shadow people several times, but they're not aggressive, ever, more just curious. Move into condo with wife. Nothing really happens, but my wife has ridiculous nightmares when the bathroom door is open. Like terrifying shit. We're sitting on the couch one night. From literally in between us, a child's voice says, "Hey." We promptly back off to bed. Another night. I'm sleeping. Get sleep paralysis, never happened before. In bedroom doorway is Hatman/shadow person. It's just screaming ah at me. Wife wakes me up after she sees me staring at the door at 2 a.m. Yet another night. Order pizza. Set it on our shitty glass coffee table that I hate. Pizza box goes from slightly open to totally open. Coffee table rattles aggressively for like 10 seconds. Wife and I are totally baffled. Say, dude, if you want pizza, have some. Leave pizza out all night like it's for Santa Claus. Pizza Ghost is apparently pleased with this and never bothers us again for the next year and a half. Nightmares stop. Talk to landlord. Apparently the previous owner was like a schizo-autist mathematician that would write equations on the wall. TFW, you endeared yourself to a ghost by saying schizo shit and giving it pizza. And another experience. 64-yo friend from work dies. He was a really great friend, no family in the US, basically no family to speak of. Don't go to his service that work held because he hated that job and didn't like anyone there. Really shitty time for me, no closure, and he left me his life insurance, so I'm torturing myself for not seeing him for 3 mo while I adjusted to a new job I got. Last time I talked to him, we were planning to get drinks together, etc. Read up on purgatory and find out that you only get out when people pray for you. Shit myself because he has no family and nobody at work would have prayed for him. Pray for him constantly over the next week. Sleeping one night. It's my friend. I am overwhelmed with a completely incomprehensible feeling of love, abundance, happiness. He runs up to me and gives me a hug, saying, "Man, I am in heaven, man." Soft white light all around, biblical halo and everything. I'm bawling my eyes out, like overwhelmed with emotion, like I've never been hugging this mother lover. I'm gonna go, but I'll see you around, man. Wake up absolutely shaken as hell from this.
I had to dig deep to see if I had a real paranormal story. I sort of do, but it's nothing much. Lived in apartment complex when I was a young kid. Friends and I would build forts in the woods out of sticks and pallets. One of us started Larping, claiming he saw a white dog with glowing red eyes. We all thought it was fun and started Larping around. Somehow we unpromptedly started larping that demons were in the woods, like each of us would run around, come back and say shit about demons. I was really into the Tails doll curse, only OG retards know, at the time, and said we could summon him for protection. Other friends said they could summon their Pokemon/Yu-Gi-Ohs from their cards. Next day we all brought something into the fort. I brought a doll of Tails, they brought their decks and other kitty shit. We larped a ritual to bring them to life, then pissed off into the woods to play some more. That night one of our friends' dads was hanging out with some devil worshippers/pagans/pentagram people/whatevers. They told his dad that his son was interrupting their mojo or some shit. Friend's dad couldn't/didn't understand but said okay, I'll put a stop to the woods. Tore down our fort the next day. Day after that, friend's dad woke up with a scratch all the way around his upper arm. I quote, "We did, but I firmly believe there's magic in the LARP."
Okay, I've been thinking about posting this one ever since it happened, but didn't think it was /x/enough, despite it being up there with the most terrifying moments of my life. Live in a small village out in the sticks, northeastern Spain, not so far from the Pyrenees. Used to be afraid of the dark as a kid. Got over it after walking home in the pitch dark many times in rural Scotland. It's around a 2.5-hour walk home from the bus station. I always roll a little joint for the walk home and generally have a great time strolling along. It's late, around 1 a.m. Moon is out in force, bright enough to cast long shadows. Can see the dirt road clearly, it's a sort of ochre color that the moonlight lights up brilliantly. Almost home, around 2/3 of the way. Completely in my head, enjoying the stillness, walking at a decent pace past the almond trees. The night air is thick with the scent of almond blossom, idyllic, it's a clean sweet smell. All of a sudden I startle something in front of me, and it lumbers off into the trees off the path. I almost walked right into it, bear in mind I'm quite stoned and wasn't paying attention. My weed-addled senses are on high alert, and I'm interpreting the situation very strongly. I'm immediately aware of a few things, without doubt, somehow. Whatever this creature is, it's as surprised to not be alone as I am. It is perturbed to have been so unceremoniously disturbed. This usually wouldn't be a big deal. I've seen wild pigs around here a few times, they're pretty scary, but they're never alone, and this thing is definitely alone. What's more, they don't want anything to do with humans and run away as soon as they feel your presence. So, despite my initial thought that it must be a wild pig, something wasn't adding up. My initial reaction was that it must be a pig changed rapidly. For one thing, I could hear it breathing, deep and wet. Sounds like a pig, right? Pigs don't growl, it was a predatory sound. Pigs also run away, and this is where my blood suddenly ran cold. Instead of running away, smashing through whatever was in its way like a pig would, this thing turned around and observed me. At this point I'm fighting down the urge to unleash a primal scream. The terror is unreal, it felt like something physical trying to escape my chest, the hairs on my arms are on end. Somehow I resist and keep walking, head down, too scared to look directly at the looming bestial form standing there looking out at me from the trees. I only paused for a moment when I was initially startled. Otherwise I was power walking, fighting the urge not to run. I knew that running would be a mistake, don't ask me how I knew, just like I knew screaming would be a mistake. Just like I knew this thing was following, growling, breathing wetly, watching me. I could hear it off in the tree line following me, heavy footfalls, the whole nine, only a stone's throw away. After a while I stopped hearing it, but every so often my blood would run cold again. All I could think was it was another primal message, like my body was telling me each time it came back to check my progress. I know this sounds retarded, but it's all true, only happened a couple of weeks ago.
This reminded me of a story from high school. Also the wild hunt thing sounds really interesting. Late night hanging out with friend and his GF. We find some random cemetery to hang out in. We were standing on a hill, them facing me looking uphill and me facing them looking downhill. We were talking and about to smoke weed maybe, I don't remember. Both of them get horrified look on their face and take off running down the hill. I think they're messing with me, but then I realize they seem to be serious. I panic and think I need to run too, no time to turn around and see what scared them. Friend looks back at me while running and says something along the lines of "Holy shit, that thing is huge." I realize he's look above me, not behind me. At this moment friend and his GF are at the end of the hill, it turns into a steep cliff at this point. There is an elk statue, kind of related, at the end of the hill and friend and GF hide behind it. Something enormous soars over my head and dives at my friend. I can see the silhouette against the night sky. I'm thinking it's an owl or an eagle, for reference it's at least twice the width of the elk statue. It could have easily picked my friend up. The flying thing wasn't able to get my friend and flies off into the darkness. We leave, not so much scared but more in shock. That thing was so humongous and seemed really intent on getting my friend. The thing that makes this story strange to me, is the following year my friend dies and ends up being buried in the same cemetery. I try to visit his grave as much as I can, and every time I'm there I wonder if there was some connection to what happened that night and his death, maybe an omen or something. Also, what makes this story stand out to me, is about a year ago I read somebody tell almost the exact same story here on /x/ with different details.
My wife and I bought a handcrafted ornate Ouija board from a paranormal convention. We were in the process of redoing a basement of our house we had recently bought. After a long day of renovation I had a few drinks and played with it in the basement. I was saucy and started taunting spirits through the board. I don't remember much else for a while. My wife said she found me sitting in a corner with my face to the wall muttering in a weird voice and language. It took her a few minutes to get me to acknowledge her, where she realized I was eating raw steak out of the package and began to growl and become aggressive. She left for the night assuming I was on drugs. The next day she came with a friend to do a welfare check. I was asleep in an unfinished closet in the basement. I had zero memory but had blood from the steak on my face. I told her what I did remember and she took me to her friend's witchcraft apothecary. Yold them what happened. They recommended I take an herbal bath with a blend of stuff they made. I had to boil it for a while and project my intentions for cleansing. They also suggested binding and burying the board on consecrated ground. We returned home but the board was gone. Straight up vanished. We never found it despite gutting and rebuilding the basement. I followed directions and then took the bath. My wife was on the opposite side of the house as I started feeling woozy and discombobulated. I tried calling out for help but didn't have a voice. I began to vomit violently on the floor. I was shaking like a seizure, was aware of what was happening but powerless to even move. My wife found me a short time later hanging halfway out of the tub panting and vomiting a slimy black goo. I slept for 2 days without so much as a piss break or a drink of water. I had intense vivid nightmares I couldn't wake up from. When I awoke I felt like I got hit by a train. I couldn't walk for a while, could barely stand.
Going through a similar situation as you. Almost 9 years relationship about to end, got laid off in debt, money problems, health getting worse and just feeling isolated. But lately things have been better. I've been working really hard towards things. So I got a new job and while things are not perfect, I'm very glad to be alive. And not to shit talk your ex or you but the way you guys were hanging out in the cemeteries doesn't seem like something a normal person would come up with. So one of you were likely being edgy and well, that worn off. I'm guessing all that happened in your early 20s and now you're mid to late 20s. I changed a lot in that period too, mostly for the better. So yeah, just keep grinding and keep looking for ways to improve yourself. You'll be surprised.
Halloween, the story about how I was used in satanic ritual while asleep. Halloween 2023 in Germany. Ist a warm evening, windy, dark red night sky. I went for a walk with a bottle of wine. I stroll down the path next to a riverbank. After I finish the bottle, I sit down in the grass to rest. 5 minutes go past. Then I hear a female voice. Is this guy suitable? Maybe. Boom, I black out. Several hours go past. I wake up. A little worried, I check for my belongings. Nothing is missing, money plus phone plus keys still there. But there are like 300 new pictures in my camera roll, WTF. In these pics I'm draped like a mannequin in different poses for a creepy art installation. In some of them I can see black leather gloves touching my ankles, shoulders, face etc. to put me in place. In the background there are demon figures watching. Female shadow people in dresses with Medusa or lion head. You can make them out and pick related that thing that looks like a tree. The area was complete flat. No trees around when I went back at daytime. Also there were black dogs around with red glowing eyes. What they did to me. I was crucified. Bound with cable binders to a wooden cross. A slideshow where the cross starts levitating towards the sky. Like 5 meters in the air. There are yellow angels in the sky. And in the left upper corner a giant demon. You can see both in pic related. Subtly I fall face first to the ground. Apparently the whole thing acted as a mockery of the ascension of Christ. Pics of me reenacting famous paintings of Lucifer. Sitting in a shallow grave while I get chased by a centipede and the look of terror in my face, me being buried up to the neck in the ground. Me in dancer-like poses. Sitting at the river staring into nothingness. Behind me 2 columns and an ancient city, my severed head flying to the sky without my body. I couldn't remember anything. Maybe I was drugged. The photos are the only evidence. Should I post part 2?
Yes. Could you post some pictures? What type of wine was it?
After that whole thing happened I freaked out and ran to the emergency room to take an AIDS test. What if these freaks raped me and deleted the pictures? Thank God it was negative. I wanted to go to the police but I hesitated. No one would believe such a crazy story. Few days went past when I realized that many pictures got deleted by themselves. Faster than I could look, 90% of them disappeared, especially the ones which made me sick in the stomach. I know how that sounds. Fake and gay. I think they hacked my phone or something while I slept. I still use the same phone cause I'm poor. They deleted the pictures from far. Since then many weird things happened. I always feel watched and am out of good luck. It feels like they took my soul. They let me know what they did. But I don't know the full truth. Pic related, I repeat, there were no trees at this place. You can clearly see arms plus hips plus and a body. Shadow person looking down at me.
Shared this in the last green text thread, but might as well post it here, too. June 2008. Night fishing on Texas coast with my dad. On a pier with a hotel on it. Had night fishing trips there for years at this point. Very calm night, waves low, moon very bright, possibly a full moon but I can't remember clearly. Time rolls around to 2 a.m. Somewhere in the distance, we both hear what sounds like the whistle of a steam locomotive. Dad compares it to the train Astroworld used to have. Drones on for 2 to 3 minutes before fading away. Obviously not a normal train since diesels are ubiquitous. Thought it could have come from the oil refineries, except they were too far away to hear anything that clearly from them. Remember that in 1900, the huge hurricane trapped a train and flooded its cars with storm surges, killing everyone inside. Local story is that you can hear the train in the dead of night, but only when another large storm will hit the island soon. Fast forward to September later that year. Hurricane Ike makes landfall and messes up the coastline. The hotel of that pier was totaled by the storm and was later demolished. Never heard any similar sounding whistles again in future fishing trips. Something interesting to note is that both that 1900 storm and Ike were Category 4 hurricanes, and both made landfall in September within close proximity to each other, September 8th and September 13th. I also tried looking up other accounts of the ghost train, but I got nothing aside from my own foggy memories of summer camp where I was first told about it. I did find articles talking about an actual train that got stuck and was flooded, such as this one here. That island is known for a lot of local hauntings, including its railroad museum, funny enough, but this is the only real inexplicable experience I had there.
Not much, but me and my cousins were in their backyard at night sitting in a circle around a candle and were going to summon a spirit for fun. There was this dog barking the entire night we were out there, then we summoned the spirit and my cousin said as a joke, "If you are here, shut that damn dog up." And the dog stopped barking immediately, like someone hit a switch, and we all got spooked and went indoors.
Last night I said I would come post if the thread was still up. It is, so here are some stories from over the years. Be me, spending summer working seasonally in the tribal Sami lands up north, Anon. Strange things happen. Me and a friend are wandering around one night, and get lost in the bush. No biggie, we are not worried, just kind of confused about our location. Worst case scenario, we could just follow the river back into the village. Instead of doing that, we decide to start following a reindeer that randomly just spawned in front of us on the path. Reindeer walks a bit, then stops, turns around and looks at us, waiting, continuing as we approach it. The reindeer leads us to the front yard of our lodging. Turns around and goes back in the bush. So this animal definitely was communicating to both of us. The moment we saw it, we felt like it was there to help us. Strange thing, but we both kind of felt it. We were just kind of laughing at it as we went along, wanting to see where the reindeer would take us. He definitely knew where we lived. I had agreed to work at this place up north for about a month or so, and after I was done there I headed south to my parents' house for a bit. This is when the strangest thing ever happened. Gonna continue in the next message cause it's a long story. Bear with me. Arrive at my parents' house after a really long drive. Beautiful late summer evening. Nobody else is at home that day, just me and my lil bro. Parents coming the next day or something. I set up a bed on the sofa in the living room. Brother goes to sleep, I go for a last smoke, spliff, on the back porch, feeling an ominous feeling, like some strange presence around me. Ignore it. Be regular smoker, smoking doesn't even get me high at this point. I had already smoked a few joints throughout the day and had smoked this exact same batch of weed for the whole summer, so I doubt this following experience has anything to do with me getting super high and hallucinating things. Saying this for transparency and honesty. Lay down about to go to sleep. All of a sudden all of the electrical appliances around start to make that feedback sound that old TVs and radios used to make when close to an old school mobile phone. I check that the TV is off and so was my computer, no idea what could cause that feedback. I had not heard that sound in years, so I was kind of surprised. I disconnected the Wi-Fi box thing just to be safe and went back to bed. Feedback comes and goes a few times. I wonder WTF was going on. I start to convulse, like having an epileptic seizure. My whole body goes stiff a few times, like I'm having a stroke or something. I was young, very healthy and never ever had epileptic symptoms. I get bright flashes of blue light while my brain is pulsating with pain along with a high-pitched sound. I have never ever heard such a high pitch in my life. Pitch getting higher and higher. I convulse harder and harder. I think okay now I'm about to die, wow. All of a sudden the high-pitched sound stops and I feel my body relax. There is a blue statue of light in the middle of the living room. Just floating in the air. It looks like your standard depiction of a biblical angel, only blue and kind of see-through. I'm thinking okay wow I'm going crazy or something. It tells me to get up and walk to the door to let out an intruder. I do exactly as it says. I literally walk to the front door and open it and then close it again. This blue beam of light threw out some nasty spirit that I had brought in with me. Blue thing went away, I felt kind of bummed cause I wanted this being to chill with me and explain what the hell just happened. I go to sleep. Never have another episode like this in my life. Keep smoking the same batch of weed until it runs out. Keep smoking new batches of all sorts of weed for the next 10 years until one day I quit. I told my mom about it and she was like, yeah, the blue angel. I saw it once hovering above your sister when she was playing in the backyard of the grandparents' place. Your aunts were there too and they saw it as well. I think it's some ancestral spirit that protects us. So my interpretation of what happened is that I was influenced up north by some northern spirit, and when I got home this blue spirit kind of came through me and cleansed me from this other spirit. There are lots of legends about the spirits of the north. The tribal people do all sorts of magic up north but nobody really knows for sure. I have been trying to ask people about this blue angel thing, but haven't really found any meaningful information or experiences. Anyone have any idea about what I could have experienced? It's been nearly 15 years since this happened and I'm still kind of puzzled.
Enjoyable thread. Thinking I had nothing to share, I noticed something while reading Blue Angel Anon story. No green text cause minor. I had 2 cats and lived with my brother and his GF in a flat. Having traveled recently before airports were shut down cause of China flu, I became sick for some weeks. Our old cat really liked me and he was one of my most important friends. He was always with me and this time it was no different. Maybe you don't know, but cats can suffer from the China flu too. His health deteriorated fast and died a few months after. The other cat would stay with me too, waiting for the older cat to come back and play with it. The house has wooden floor and it makes noises. With the cats moving and playing, I never cared for any creaking that I could hear, and by the time of its death I was already too used to it. I remember hearing the creaking noises and assume it's temperature difference or something else since the other cat was next to me. Since then my brother and his GF left and took the remaining cat, and I had been working somewhere else for some time. Trying to find a job, it's not uncommon for me to stay up late getting shit done, but it only occurred to me now that I haven't heard any creaking in the past months. That little cat always tried to sneak up to be with me. A nice friend.
Not super paranormal. Be me, middle school. Don't do homework for a week. Do all my homework in 3 nights. Don't sleep, drink lots of coffee. Night 3, head dizzy so I sit on my living room couch. C. Dot gets bigger. Dot becomes a face. Chubby white kid with a propeller hat and freckles. Gross pale skin, almost like Deadpool but less gross. The eyes had red iris, the whites of the eyes were black. I didn't want to get my ass beat, my dad was asleep, but it spooked me good. The face didn't move, it looked like a picture almost, but I still kinda wish I said something to it.
Kind of wimp shit, but here goes. Be me, like 7 years old. In my room, chilling. Old house in SC, little town that has a train nearby, but an old burned out church and several graveyards hidden in a woods, several more not so hidden. When we moved there, took the wrong turn and happened across one after 15 minutes of driving. One was across the street from my school, etc. Look at my curtains. See the shadow of a woman walking past. Freaked the hell out, no idea why thinking back. Wasn't mom, wasn't anyone we knew. Still weird around windows, especially at night, to this day. Miss that place, though. Need to go back sometime.
I lived in a haunted house for a while. It was in a mountain village. My mom bought it and basically chopped it in half into 2 suites. I was in the basement. I witnessed some really freaky stuff when I was there. I remember once I was sitting on the couch facing a mirror that showed the doorway to the washroom behind me. There were multiple times where a black figure would take up almost the whole doorway and black it out for a second. Then just go away. I also saw pale white arms through the windows at night that were so clear and vivid I could never think I was hallucinating or something. My mom is religious and she was concerned about it, so we anointed every doorway with oil and prayed over it. Took a while, but it worked, or maybe it was just placebo. Eventually I moved out, and the girl who rented the suite after me claimed to always hear footsteps and full conversations coming from the empty suite above. I only learned the history of the house after I moved out because my mom thought it'd freak me out. It was a halfway house for a long time where there were multiple accounts of women committing suicide and girls getting molested. I hope that house burns down, it had nasty energy. When I moved in, the walls were also covered in writing from a teen girl who committed literal right before it was renovated. Oh, and a colony of ants moved in while I was sleeping and bit me everywhere, which was shitty. Thanks for reading.
My dad would either die first in a horror movie or kill the monster in the opening. We ran into a Bigfoot driving down from the hills after moving some furniture for my grandparents, whose old house he now lives in. We see a glow that my dad, a lifelong hunter, said didn't belong to anything native to the area, including cougars like up in the tree line. His response: push down the pedal to get to them quicker, get out of the car and poke around. Pretty sure that was Bigfoot considering how high the eyes were and their spacing. Another time we were walking in a golf course, huge splash by the water, features like a land whale just belly flopped into it in a place where the largest animal is a bullfrog. Pops once again sticks his nose in it and seriously thought about swimming to see what it was. Bastard even walked into and out of a bush. An injured mountain lion was in to pinpoint its location so he could mercy kill it after it got shot. He'd either get snapped up by a skinwalker or messed it to death if he ever ended up in a cliché/X/LARP, even in his old age. Love him, even if my response to these same situations is to leg it and hit the bricks. The only thing besides heart surgery I've seen that scares him is Dracula, not vampires, just Dracula and the old times Dracula. Never understood that. He kept a cool head being charged by boars, but Bela Lugosi scares him.
I split this up because it's really long, and also for pacing. About 10 years ago my grandfather dies, April 2014. Never knew him that well, but it turns out my dad is in his will even though they were estranged. Dad wasn't expecting much and basically just got a box of random shit, threw it in the basement. Months later we end up talking about Grandpa and I find out more about him. Grandpa was half Ojibwe, which makes me 1/8, but Dad never told me because both him and Grandpa hated tribe politics and refused to live on Rees. I look white anyway, so who cares? Dad stopped talking to him because Grandpa was still very into tribal religion, but Dad married into a Catholic family. Side note, parents stopped going to church sometime before I was born, so I was never confirmed or anything. Anyway, the box of shit is a bunch of leftover native crap that Grandpa willed to Dad, probably as some last-ditch effort to de-Christianize him. Dad doesn't give a shit and is just glad he didn't inherit any massive debt or anything, but he does say he regrets not making an effort to reconnect. About a year later I'm moving into residence at university and packing my stuff, and I see the box. Open it up. Predictably it just looks like a bunch of weird wooden/bone stuff with feathers and beads. Figure it might make a good talking point to impress chicks, so I grab some dreamcatcher looking thing and stuff it in under a few of my shirts. Dad never even opened the box anyway, so it's not like he'd notice it's missing. 1 month into semester I remember I have the thing and hang it up in my dorm room. That's when the trouble starts. That first night after hanging it I just cannot sleep at all. No matter what I do I just can't fall asleep. Figure it's just anxiety because of classes, so the next day I ask my buddy to hook me up and smoke a small joint before bed. Never in my life have I had worse nightmares than that night. Fire, screaming, crying, running away, dark forests with monsters, people being murdered, just a continual horror show for what felt like days. When I finally wake up, it takes me almost 10 minutes before I'm able to fully convince myself it wasn't real. Apparently I was quiet the whole night according to my roommates. After an exhausting day, I sit down to do some homework, and I can't shake the feeling that somebody is staring at me. I'm in a single room with the curtain shut, there's nobody inside, but it feels like someone is standing right behind me. Several times I swear I see someone move beside me and snap around to look, but there's nothing there. Decide to just try to sleep early and normally, no weed or anything. No dreams, wake up feeling better. Finish homework and go to class, everything's fine, a week goes by with no incidents. Figure everything is probably fine, weekend is coming up, so I make some plans to go out on Friday to a movie with a girl. Date sucks, but whatever, get home late, walk into my room ready to drop into bed, look over at my closet and nearly shit my pants. There's a figure standing right there in all black robes with a pale white face, looks human at first but the face proportions are all wrong. I blink, it's gone, I hit the lights, check the whole room, nothing there. I am weirded the hell out, but I'm so tired that I just want to sleep. Lights off, lay down, I check a few more times but I can't see anything weird, so I drift off to the sound of my roommate reading some shit aloud in the room beside me. Next day I ask roommate what he was reading, he looks confused. Tells me he wasn't reading anything, he was asleep before I was. Ask him if he had a podcast on or something to sleep. He says no, asks if I have a pet or something. No. Well, I was hearing something shuffling around in your room. Might wanna check for rats, bro. Pretty sure all my blood left my body for a minute, but he didn't notice. I have no classes on Saturday, so I end up being the only one home for a while. I check for rats just in case, there's nothing, not that I would know because I've never had rats, but nothing looks out of place. Do some Google searching because while I'm not exactly a /x/file at this point in my life, I'm not so retarded to not recognize some ghost shit when it's in front of my face. Conflicting info, as expected. The Dreamcatcher thing really is just a dreamcatcher, a legit one, but nothing sinister at all. I end up reading about some Ojibwe legends about Manitou and such, but none of it sounds much like what I saw, but it's interesting for sure. I also read about exorcisms a bit out of curiosity, never really knew much about them besides pop culture, but it's also neat. Can't find any legit footage that isn't obviously edited, but I look up some Latin mass audio to get an idea of what it might actually sound like. Sounds weirdly familiar, though it's not like I haven't heard Latin before. Whatever, I order a pizza and play some video, Dark Souls 2 PvP, I remember that part really clearly. Roommates come back, eventually everybody goes to bed. Just before I fall asleep I realize that the noise I was hearing from my roommate's room was Latin prayers. Don't sleep the whole night. Gotta skip around a bit because it doesn't really work that well to green text this in order. Every 2 weeks or so for the next 3 months I have nightmares of varying intensity. I took the Dreamcatcher down, obviously, but it didn't make a difference. I saw the figure 2 more times, never managed to make out any features besides long black robes and a deathly white face with smeared features. I also started dreaming about being locked in a small room occasionally. Roommates also told me multiple times that I talked in my sleep. So anyway, when the semester ends I go home for a bit and talk to my dad again. Ask about my grandpa again. Dad knows I took the Dreamcatcher but isn't mad, asks me if I lost or broke it. Say no, I was just curious and I didn't think he'd care anyway. He doesn't really care, tells me a bit more about Grandpa. Grandpa was abducted from his parents and put into a residential school as a kid. This was actually the reason him and my dad stopped talking. My grandpa absolutely could not accept that his son was marrying a Catholic. Some pieces start falling into place a bit. Don't want to say anything about the crazy shit, so I just keep my mouth shut. I also find out that the contents of that box weren't packed there by my grandpa, but by the people who cleaned up his place after he died. That stuff, Dreamcatcher included, was around his house. In fact, most of it was in the bedroom where he died. So anyway, I spent 3 more weeks at home before going back to the dorm. The very night I get back, I wake up at around 2 a.m. and I see the robed guy again, standing at the foot of my bed. It's weird, the black of his robes is so dark that it's easily visible against the walls without the lights on. Now that I know what I'm looking at, he looks like a priest, just scary. I can't be sure, but it seems almost to me like I'm having some kind of waking nightmare of something my grandpa saw. Without turning on the light, I get the Dreamcatcher out of the closet. I'm half expecting some demon to jump out, but no, it's just string and wood and a few feathers. The ghost priest thing is still looking at me, and I swear I can hear faint praying in Latin. Without being told, or even looking it up, somehow I just know what to do. Everybody's asleep, so I quickly grab a few things, slip out of my room, then go downstairs and out of the dorm building. There's a spot where the smokers generally congregate. I go over, throw the Dreamcatcher in the big ashtray and pull some dry grass from nearby to put it on top. Use my lighter to set the whole thing on fire. Nothing flashy happens, it just burns for a good 5 to 10 minutes. Go back inside. Priest ghost is gone. Room just feels quieter. Lay down. Fall asleep. Dream about nothing. So yeah, haunted object. You probably thought this was going somewhere else from all the native stuff, but no, sadly I don't have any spooky Wendigo stories. I've gone to haunted locations since then and it feels almost exactly the same as being around that Dreamcatcher did. Weird thing is though, even pointing a camera right at figures I can see, I've never managed to get a picture or video of one. They're just not there in the recording. Ghosts are definitely real, but I think a lot of the proof for them is bullshit, if that makes sense.